Yeah, Trundle, you know, a historical counter to the Olaf, being able to pillar, prevent him from picking up his axes, making it harder for him to run down Trundle. Trundle also being just a very strong early game duelist as well, so you expect that one to go into the jungle role, with the Gwen also being locked in right alongside it. Now for EDG, I like the Jace pick coming out. It has been one of the go-to counter picks to Gwen that we have seen, and we still do have, I'd say, priority AD carries open, especially in terms of Aphelios and Varus. I feel like we've seen a lot of teams gravitate towards the Aphelios more recently than anything else, but with the fact that you have a Trundle on the other side, Trundle's very good against immobile AD carries, could make you hesitate on wanting to pick an AD carry right now.
Yeah, and I was going to say as well, the Thresh gone, big tried and true combo with the Aphelios. Not necessarily the must-have, but very, very good in general. We do get the LeBlanc locked in for the final pick of the first phase for EDG, though, so a lot of potential with that lane focus and the synergy that can be found with the jungle as well.
And I wouldn't be too surprised to see Uniboy go with something maybe like a Lissandra or Galio here. Galio's been something he's gravitated towards quite a bit. Lissandri's already played once and is going to lock that one in. Both traditional counters to the LeBlanc matchup. So 4v5, putting some engage in their lineup felt very necessary, where for right now, when I look at V5's composition, it looks like the type of team comp that would do very well if you have hard engage, if you are playing into them. But EDG haven't really built a composition that need to do that. You have Jace, very good poke champion, and even LeBlanc feels like she fits a lot more of the poke style rather than relying on the all-in or having to look for engages.
And actually, instead of leaving it on the table, V5 decide in their second ban phase they want to ban away the Aphelios. So taking that one away from Viper, and means we do get the traditional, at least at this point, ADC focus in the second phase. Makes me a little sad as an ADC main, but it's fine, it's fine. Varus is the ban away by EDG though, Lyric.
I think it's a good ban for sure, right? Just brings so much lane strength down in the bottom lane, would give them some range of their own to play off of while also adding another engage element. So I think it would add options to Victory 5's composition, which they would need. And we hit on the Ziggs earlier, right? But V5 have already stacked so much AP, they aren't really a team who can go with that Zig, so they are going to ban it out against Edward Gaming. And now to me, I'm not quite sure I'd be too big of a fan of something like an Ezreal coming out because of how much like early prio and lane dominance the side of EDG has. You might even just need to look to go deeper down in your pool and maybe even just blind pick support first. Go with the Leona or Nautilus and look to pick your AD carry last depending on what comes out, which typically you go with the opposite because support really dictates the matchup of bottom lane. But I feel like we're just pushed so far into the trenches of what meta AD carries are left open that it might be best to just leave that for last pick.
And I also do like the Rakan ban slipping in there as the last ban for EDG, giving a little bit less of that engage potential, the CC that you're looking for the setup for V5. But talking about CC, they get the Ashe, so a lot of utility coming through from the ADC role for V5.
And for EDG, they're actually able to go with the Ezreal pick. It will lose out in lane to the Ashe, but you already have strong soul laners. You already have a really strong jungle matchup. It doesn't feel like you rely on your bot lane for prio. And then I would have loved to see maybe something like an Alistar come out to give them a bit more options in terms of like engage and disengage options. But right now with them hovering the Braum, I think it actually makes sense in terms of wanting to counter out these specific champions that Victory 5 have picked up. Does really well against the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, does well against champions like Gwen and the Needlework. So they are going to opt more into counteracting V5's champions and just playing the poke style rather than needing and relying on maybe follow-up engage if they are able to get on an objective and then looking to turn for a fight.
I will say though, for V5, I mean, the amount of just CC and things that they have for spacing along those lines is pretty incredible. So I want to see how they play that. Actually, the Graves is the final lock-in here, and that's kind of spicy, you gotta say, Lyric.
I do not know the last time we've seen a Trundle support. I know we haven't seen one so far here in the LPL, but I feel like it's probably been quite a bit since we've seen one at all internationally, though I'm not someone to speak to that. There's LPL every day. We only watch LPL here, but you're right. Victory 5's composition, changing gears, going back towards just all-inning on engage, bringing in more burst with the Graves as well. So it's going to be a bit interesting because the tools for engage are your carries, not really the traditional roles of top and support that you would typically see. So we're going to need to see big performances come out from Uniboy and Kepler. And EDG's composition, I think, is a lot easier because you're able to poke, you're able to play back. Whether you're on objectives first or not, you're always going to have opportunities to get that damage down. And members like Uniboy are going to have to put themselves in harm's way to be able to find that all in onto you.
And I guess the biggest question for me is like going back to what we were talking about earlier, we're looking at that early game skirmishing between these junglers and where they can find those advantages. We got some very heavy skirmishers. We got the Olaf versus the Graves. I'm very interested in this matchup. Not one I've gotten to see a lot of since Graves is now coming back into the meta finally after being gone for so long. But I think that this jungle matchup is still going to be the most key. But you have a lot of flexibility between these lanes. I think there's a lot of potential for that early skirmishing between the top trios of both sides. But it's going to be a heck of a matchup here, and especially looking at that top lane counter matchup, see if that can lend to EDG's advances and successes as well, as we get to hit the Rift for the first time, Lyric. I know I said it already, but damn, I'm excited, and it is going to be week 8 here, continuing in the LPL summer split. We got EDG versus V5. To see the wonderful crowd go through, still appreciate the fact that we get to see live faces and all the smiling eyes, at least, and all the signs. It's a wonderful time, Lyric, in the LPL, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. Always love seeing the fans, and something we've hit on before is that there is fans for every team, no matter if you are a team like V5 that haven't been able to pick up a series win just yet. So many fans in China, always going to be people there out to support you. And today we are in V5's arena in Shenzhen, so that even feeling a little bit better for the V5 players of knowing they do have a bit more support out there.
It is always nice to have that fan backing, hear those cheers in the crowds, even with those headphones on. Sometimes you can hear them through. But we got to get into the nitty-gritty here. We're into the early game. We're going to get into these laning phases, but we're still keeping that spotlight on where the jungle pathing is going to go, where these early advantages can come from for both these teams. And it looks like, for the moment, we're getting the same side starts, so maybe some butting heads early on.
And I think for V5 it makes sense, right? Because their bot lane's going to be the one that is able to keep up prio. We already saw the Kepler and ZYF having control of the wave early on. So for V5, to me, that's really where you're going to be playing around early, is just utilizing that bot lane prio, maybe even just trying to roam someone like ZYF out of lane and looking for opportunities either in mid lane or in the enemy jungle with PZX. To when we look at Jiejie, I don't actually feel like you have too many opportunities down there yourself unless V5 make massive mistakes. To me, the big strength of EDG's composition would be playing with mid-jungle early on, LeBlanc and Olaf. Extremely strong early skirmishing champions. The Lissandra Graves don't really come into this 2v2 matchup until they start getting online with their ultimates. So for EDG, see Jiejie look for some use of early pressure with Scout. Maybe use that to turn that into a bot side Scuttle Crab, and Viper and Meiko can try to hover over from lane. And then we're going to see. I feel like we're going to see some early action around the spot side Scuttle, Mazel.
I can expect so. I will say that Jiejie able to get a little bit of vision onto PZX, so we'll know that he's pathing down towards bot lane. A little bit more information on the side of EDG this time around. We'll see if that lends to anything, as it will be just the full clear coming out from both these junglers. But I've been pretty impressed with, we talked about it earlier, Viper not going to have the most fun in lane, but Kepler and ZYF able to keep a lot of pressure down bot lane.
Yeah, and so that's going to just open up for PZX to take the Scuttle. A bit interesting to me that Jiejie goes with the full clear down towards bot side and then just elects to run up to top side Scuttle Crab anyway. I don't think there's any opportunities to look for plays for any kind of top dives right now. I don't think Flandre should be in a wave state where he has stacked up a wave, and Aliez is still quite healthy, but looks like Jiejie just going to go for a recall. So they are aware that there really is no opportunity to go for any kind of top lane dive without Scout being involved.
My theory here is he just wanted to, smell the roses a little bit, see the scenery. It's a beautiful place, Summoner's Rift, all right? You got to take your time to walk through and appreciate it sometimes, Lyric.
I don't think so. I think Jiejie trying to live his true barbarian Viking life, walk into PZX's village, take his women, take his alcohol, take it all. But sadly, there was nothing there. So
there was not. There was not. It was already all taken and drank and eaten and all that. So yeah, sometimes you don't come up with it. We do get to see the TPs utilized mid. Still some TPs in the top lane. I want to see maybe if we get some TP plays down in the bot lane for those early advantages. ZYF going to take a decent amount of trade, but Meiko as well. Going to have to pop those healing potions. He's chugging now.
And this goes back to the meme that EDG have. Is I'm going to pause because PZX actually setting up for a topside play. No words for Flandre.
Oh, Flandre takes the bait. He goes right in, and PZX is here now. Flandre able to flash away, though. Summoner spell burn for the top laner of EDG.
And to me, this still just goes back to the early clear and pathing we saw come out from Jiejie, is that it's just very surprising to me. They even know that PZX will be up there at that time, right? So Jiejie realistically could have just hovered up towards topside and let Flandre get a bounce back in. But Jiejie still wanting to play towards his bottom side. Goes back to that meme that EDG had in their comms a few weeks ago. For anyone who doesn't know, EDG does put out their voice comms on their channel, where they said, you know, win condition number 1, bot lane carry. Win condition number 2, wait for bot lane to carry. So it doesn't really matter the champions that EDG draft or what their win conditions could be, right? Because we've seen both Flandre and Scout have had Prio this whole time. You could lean towards mid as Jiejie, start walking into topside jungle as Jiejie and Scout get deep wards down and try to set up some plays onto Aliez. But instead, just going for the full clears, going for the early dragons, sticking to the EDG way.
Yeah, I was just about to say that early Drake control can be super nice for the early advantages you're looking for. And I love the fact that EDG were able to manipulate bot lane, where they were getting pressed in pretty heavily, take the bounce back off of the back of Kepler and ZYF, and they were able to help get the dragon, or at least secure the dragon right. It was Jiejie taking it the whole time with the strength that Olaf has earlier on in the game, but it's still a lot of pressure being able to put on the bot side.
And we do see EDG continuing that by getting more wards down towards the bottom lane. Scout now starting to use his pry a little bit, gonna hover in Fog of War, so it's gonna put a bit of pressure on V5's bot lane. But V5 not gonna take the bait. They know that PZX was going for the recall and gonna make his way towards topside now. So for Victory 5, they're just gonna keep looking to punish Flandre. They do have a control ward up in that topside tri-brush, so I think we're in a position now where Flandre's wave should be slow pushing back towards Aliez, and that could set up a situation where for PZX, after you get your Krugs, after you get your red buff, you could potentially look for that gank once again.
I do wonder where we'll finally see first blood. 7 minutes in, Uniboy maybe looking like he's gonna take it. Scout able to keep the pressure up in mid lane. We haven't really seen the roaming LeBlanc just yet. He's been keeping the pressure up in mid lane, keeping the priority there, and I can appreciate that as well. Still would like to see some of those movements start coming down now that we're getting a little bit later on.
He's just been looking to win out in this matchup harder, I think, for the fact that Uniboy has fallen slightly further behind than you realistically should. We haven't really gotten panned to this matchup too much, but even for Uniboy, I'm going to pause. PZX is here.
He is able to find him out with the scanner, but Uniboy, no real mana to speak of and a bit low on the health bar. Can't really secure that gank for PZX.
And the big thing about the Lissandra matchup as well, right, is that Lissandra's not really a hard counter to LeBlanc in terms of, like, you don't stomp her in laning phase. She actually still has pressure on you. The big thing is just correctly using your distortion. You don't really want to distort on top of Lissandra, just using distortion, getting to the side. If you hit your Ethereal Chains, Sigil, Malice, and Auto, you get the Electrocute proc off, as PZX might punish Flandre.
He might. There's a lot of damage coming out of the Jace, but that's still a Graves you got to deal with as the phase rush gets popped. The damage is there from the collateral, and that's first blood for V5. It's huge in the tempo lead, at least getting early objectives in kills. Maybe not so much the neutral objectives, as EDG still have a stranglehold on that one.
Especially with the fact that Meiko's made his way up already, and they know Meiko's here, right? Because Meiko just showed on Vision by clearing out the control ward.
Oh my god, Uniboy almost going down, has to use the Frozen Tomb, but will it be enough? No. EDG able to respond with a kill of their own here early on in the game. Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes down, but the cleanse is immediate from Viper, as Rift Herald will go over to Jiejie.
And that's going to just secure the Rift Herald for the side of EDG. Flandre had TP back as well, so just able to TP back to lane. So would not have been a 4v4 had EDG looked for any fight, even with if V5 looked for any fight, even with their mid laner going down because of that teleport coming out. So EDG just playing a very slow, controlled game, not looking for too much variance, and realizing, hey, you know, we don't need a ton to go on the map. As we do go into the replay of what happens, we are just going to see Scout start it off with the distortion, and I think critically Meiko is able to hit level 6 off of the last minion that did go down, opening up for his ultimate, which pretty much guaranteed enough lockdown for EDG to be able to secure that kill.
And just going to throw it out there, Viper with the perfect time Mystic shot, and Uniboy, just get him a little bit lower. Just give the ADC some credit here in the meta where ADCs don't get any credit until the later game. It's fine. 10 minutes in, though, it was an early play by V5, responded to by EDG, but this is what I'm talking about when we say we want early aggression. PZX looking for it again onto Flandre, but Flandre has backup from Jiejie. Flandre getting very low. The needlework snipe from Aliez, and that's a huge turnaround. Jiejie forced to flash over the wall, and V5 have consistently found advantage in the top side of the map.
I think Victory 5 have done a good job of punishing one of EDG's weaknesses, which is not Flandre, but it's just I'd say the lack of assistance EDG give Flandre when they draft him matchup in picks like this. Because we see once again, right? He goes down, V5 get the wave pushed in. You now know Flandre's wave is going to bounce back. You know Flandre's wave is going to be set up for Victory 5 to look for another gank. And we don't see EDG ever put resources into counter ganking, fixing his wave, looking to do anything. They pretty much hang Flandre out to dry. And this is something we actually had Nelson, the former coach of LNG, now coach of G2, on the last hit recently. And he said that's one of the weaknesses of EDG in his mind, is that they don't know how to set up, or they don't know when to look for plays in top lane when the timings recall it. The timings call for it. There we go, Mazel. That's English.
English is it's a tough language. EDG are going to be looking top now, though, as they have Rift Herald. The tower about half health now will just go down to that Rift Herald if Flandre can take a couple more shots. And there it is. Big advantage gained by EDG with this one. A lot of gold as well to Flandre.
He has been able to whittle the turret down the whole time, right? Because he has been just pushing it on this matchup. So, gonna get gold back. They are 2k up, and it looks like they're gonna get the second charge with PZX answering on the bottom side. So, nothing V5 are able to do, though. ZYF is making his way over.
See if the support Trundle can turn this matchup on its head up here, but it's a little bit rough. You also have Uniboy coming up, so if EDG overextend, they will be punished. But V5, meanwhile, as you said, the response play is that first dragon for themselves. It's an Infernal Dragon, setting up this Cloud Soul on the Rift.
And this is when you know teams are going to pivot away from playing for that Drake. V5 right now trying to set up this mid play. They can transition this by moving Uniboy and ZYF down and trying to get either some more vision down bot side or even try to catch out Meiko and Viper and River. They're not going to opt into doing that, which to me feels like a bit of a loss in the sense that you're really just letting EDG do whatever they want. Sure, they have been finding those punishes on top side, but you're not actually tangibly changing that into any kind of gold lead, right? You're just getting a bit of some kills. You're just getting a bit of gold in your pocket. You're not even getting damage down onto his turret. So EDG definitely making a lot more use of their windows than Victory 5 are.
And I want to scoot back to a topic that we were covering earlier where it was like V5 PZX needs to actually find something. He does with Uniboy in the mid lane as well. But it's the fact that we need to see the, you know, at least proactive plays from PZX is what I wanted to say. And I think that you can find those in the plays that we've seen top lane, in this play that we see in mid, and get the reactive plays from EDG. It has been kind of switched up to this point, but now you're at a point where V5 have found 3 kills. They're able to get this gold lead a little bit less so in the favor of EDG and find advantages that we've set up for them this entire time. Aliez, though, maybe a little bit overextended here, taking a lot of damage. There, EDG themselves are going to go ahead and commit the TP, but Flandre got it turned around on him. They still trade back the kill, but that's huge, and Flandre, unfortunately, goes down yet again for his 3rd death.
That's just one of those things where it's like, Flandre not only just killed himself, but you're also kind of wondering what was going on. Jiejie was there right behind him, but it doesn't look like they're on the same page with trying to set it up. And yeah, there's There's no excuse for that one, Mazel. I hope we get a replay again because I want to see like why him and Jiejie weren't entering at the same time looking for that kill together. As EDG now going to turn on to Uniboy. No ultimate.
Uniboy trying to make the jukes here. Jiejie gets stopped up by the pillar. A lot of damage going to go down on the Olaf. The Ragnarok ain't going to save you this time as Trundle able to get a kill. ZYF make his face at least shown onto the rift here on the Trundle. Lyric?
And Victory 5 still behind in gold, but I mean, this still is not a very good look for EDG, who are first. And we also should mention the fact that if EDG win out the rest of their series, like if they 2-all their series, they control their fate. They can end in first place, and there's nothing anyone else can do about it. So I think this is a bit worrying for their side. We're going to see here Flandre going in, and just a little bit too early for Jiejie to be able to follow up. Jiejie trying to walk around the long way as well, but the soul kill able to come out. The Hollowed Mist, or whatever Gwen's W is called. I might have got that one mixed up with the Viego one. Just doing so much work for the side of Aliez. Has the needle work as well, so healing up a lot of that damage. And it didn't even matter that Flandre already had his Mythic, because in the Jace vs Gwen matchup at this point, you can't just all-in her at 100% HP on both sides. She is stronger in the all-ins than you. She even has Conqueror compared to your Phase Rush. He would have had to whittle her down first if it was just a true 1v1.
I just think it's so interesting because, you know, EDG themselves, they put the Rift Herald top lane. They were able to get a decent amount of gold on Flandre, but he's still been struggling a little bit, at least in terms of those 1v1s, and that's truly going to happen. But you've had that CS advantage. You've had the pressure in top lane, which leads to this Rift Herald take by EDG. And now it looks like they want to take the fight as well. Scout going over the wall just for a little bit of that LeBlanc poke, but it might turn into a death for Aliez as he's able to get away. Enchanted Crystal Arrow blocked up by Meiko. Can he get away as now the reinforcements are here? You've got Uniboy over the wall. First kill going over to PZX, and they are utilizing their strengths here as Frozen Tomb going to be used during the Ragnarok, so won't stop Jiejie. But V5 making it known they will not go quietly into the night here. They will not let EDG control the map.
I mean, Victory 5 are utilizing their strengths, but EDG definitely are not. When we hit on EDG's comp, it's definitely a bit more about poking the enemy out if you're on objectives first, making them walk into you, hitting those mystic shots with the Ezreal, just kind of weaving in and out on the LeBlanc. But EDG not going to stop now. Flandre making his way over.
Oh, but that's already Scout gone, and Flandre can't do anything about it.
What is going on, Mazel? What is happening to EDG? It's just so weird. Scout holding by himself. He feels comfortable because they are bringing in Flandre on the TP, but you just have so much CC, so much burst damage on the side of Victory 5 as well. You just can't be looking for plays like this. Sure, Viper's going to be answering out down in bottom lane, but EDG had such a smooth first 10 minutes of this game, and then they have been the team to continuously force disrespect, as we see here with Scout going in. Does land the chain, so he is going to be able to lock down Aliez, but I feel like the biggest member for EDG is Ezreal, and he's not here. All the members of V5 are already making their way around. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow is able to lock them down and buy time for Uniboy to come in and lock them up. And like we were hitting on, this just isn't where Edward Gaming's comp really thrives and really outdoes Victory 5's.
And I love that you mentioned the CC aspect, because we talked about that in drafts as well. And I think that the point-and-click CC as well as the CC follow-up that V5 have is huge for getting the catch-out members that EDG have, right? Getting this LeBlanc that Scout is trying to pilot, trying to poke as well. And you see it unfold like that. And now maybe even more as Flandre gets caught out by the V5 members again on the top side.
And Victory 5 are just utilizing this Lissandra so well, because EDG's comp, which when you see a LeBlanc and Jace, you would think, hey, this comp can play around size, it can pull you apart, look for picks. But when you're up against a Gwen and Lissandra on the opposite side, Gwen outscales Jace, Lissandra quickly becomes able to neutralize the enemy soul laners with her ultimate and is easier to play around with jungler. It just really doesn't leave EDG those same options, and actually gives Victory 5 the avenue to where they can not only force 5v5s, but they can also be the team that finds picks on sides.
They can. Now we get the response from EDG as they pop the Rift Herald mid. We'll take this outer tower. So at least they get a little bit of pressure relief in that aspect of it, but no real other objectives to speak of for now. We still have a while till the dragon, still got a while for the Baron if that's going to be on the table. But speaking of, you know, it's crazy to me that we've gotten to this point where we did see that early game dominance. We did see, you know, the pieces of the puzzle coming together for EDG, but V5 say no way Jose, and now Aliez is looking for the solo in the side lane. And Scout, he gets Scout's flash. That's confidence if I've seen it, and now gets the solo kill. As now, unfortunately, after that, the response is there. EDG have sent the cavalry and say you cannot take down our mid laner without a response, and Jiejie gets the kill. Uniboy and BZX wanted to maybe take that fight. They had some support coming from ZYF as well, but EDG able to respond to the solo play of Aliez.
I think Victory 5 probably should have just opted into looking to get some more vision down in the enemy jungle rather than trying to react to the play itself, because Uniboy didn't have ultimate up at that time. Had Uniboy had ultimate, I think you can look for that play. Maybe you even have him use TP to come down, and you will be able to take out more members or at least force more flashes, but not able to do that still. EDG might find the response, but I feel like the fact that Aliez is able to find this pick is so massive. Gets the Q with the full stacks right away, instantly going in with the E and then pulling out the needlework. Forces out the flash, like you said, and then Scout just not able to get away. I mean, Gwen is a champion that we all know is maybe just a tad bit too strong, but to be fair, this maybe not the best example of that from the fact that EDG just funneled resources into this win. They just gave it to him. They gave it to Aliez on a silver platter.
They have so far, but we still got the game to play out. I will say Flandre has kept his CS lead pretty nice, about 60 ahead of Aliez, but you got to think those kills are going to be starting to matter a little bit more. That late game Gwen going to be starting to matter a little bit more. You get pings coming down around the Baron for V5 as the setup is coming down. Maybe just a little bit of vision game. But Lyric, my goodness, after, like, we set up this whole day to say EDG need to show up. They need to slam home this win against V5. This is not how you do it.
And I would already take this game as an example of a bit of a disappointment for EDG. And honestly, just Victory 5 continuing on the same path that they've been, right? EDG, Victory 5 have taken the game in their past 2 series. So Victory 5, despite still not having a series win, have at least looked better recently, even though it doesn't really mean too much in terms of like playoffs or standings or anything along those lines. They can definitely play spoilers for things like seeding in playoffs for certain teams, right? Especially for top 2, because if you get top 2, you make it all the way to the double elimination point in playoffs. So for EDG, despite being in first, you definitely want to try and lock in that top 2 spot.
It's super important, and especially we labeled it out earlier, right? Like, you control your own destiny right now if you can get 2 O's across the board. Jiejie looking to go down now, has to pop the Ragnarok. There's a lot of help. Viper's actually here for the fight as well. So there's a lot of follow-up damage from this Ezreal. See if they can catch him. V5 is a little bit split, but now they're joining back up. A lot of poke coming in from EDG, though. They're going to push V5 off the point here and continue to work this vision game while this dragon spawns.
And this is finally what we wanted to see out from EDG, right? When you're not able to play sides, when you're not able to look for those picks, EDG need to be a team that's grouping up on mid-wave looking for the contest, because you outrange Victory 5's composition. So you will always win the contest over mid-wave. You'll always be able to walk into river first unless they're entering from sides, and then you can just try and whittle them out, because other than the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, they're only true. Oh, God.
Flandre using that CS lead we were talking about there on the PZX, but he might have found Aliez here. Dragon does go down. That will be soul point for EDG. V5 not able to respond.
And, I mean, nice damage coming out from Flandre, still forced back by Aliez and actually having to burn his flash, so maybe not the best in the end, especially because you're a lot, like, right, you're more immobile than Graves. You do not have a dash like he does. You're also not as tanky as him in terms of the items that you are building. So Flandre, I think, going to be hurting a little bit, though I could understand why he looked for that one. Almost did find the solo kill. But going back to our point before, EDG need to be grouping up first. They need to be looking to get their poke down, because unless someone just extended too far forward and is open to an Enchanted Crystal Arrow, I don't feel like Victory 5 have an easy way of actually forcing a fight without denying vision and coming off an angle that EDG don't expect.
It looks like they want to force a fight anyways, Lyric, because they were moving in to try and catch out Meiko. Not going to find it, though. You get the side lane push coming in from Flandre. V5 not really able to find anything at the moment, but there's no real big objectives on the map. You're just looking at tempo of the lanes and how these side lanes are going to work out. But as you said, EDG obviously changing the game plan this far into the game, and I could appreciate that. For V5, though, you've gotten a lot of picks. You've gotten a decent amount of a lead on PZX, this carry that we wanted to see for V5. But how do you transition that into the 5v5, right? We've already seen the strength of EDG when Viper can join the team, but now you've got to find the CC targets. You've got to have everybody on the same page for V5 if you want to be able to take those big team fights.
I mean, to me, V5 need to keep looking towards side lanes that they were doing before. Push out the wave top side with Lissandra, or I guess right now bot with Glenn because there's a turret there, and then wait for one of the members to come respond and try and answer the wave, and then you have a ton of bursts between Graves plus either one of your soul laners. So it's going to open the pick, it's going to open the objective, and then allow you to turn back to mid lane to try to answer the push that EDG is forcing in.
It's the key to the puzzle here for V5 if they can find it. You got 3 minutes to think of the plan and to execute it, but we do still have priority over the mid lane being forced around. As actually Uniboy maybe had almost found Viper there. That's the quick thing though about V5's comp. You overstep for one moment, that's a frozen tomb to your face, and you're not able to get out of the fight. Just a lot of tension cutting here between the two teams. I do want to say though, Lyric, I would like to see some action go down. We get it on the side lane. It happens perfectly in time. Is that caster curse or is that caster blessing?
That's a good question, but sadly, you still didn't get what you wanted because EDG, like you hit on Mazel, it feels like EDG have become conscious of what was going wrong and what was allowing for V5 to find all those picks, and they're playing a lot more defensively around how they're approaching side lanes and sending their three-man core in to hover around the side and kind of pool the members of V5 to where they're not just allowed to go and kill Scout up in top side or Flandre on bot, and they're not giving those same windows to the side of V5. So for EDG, if they can just take it slow like they've been doing, playing around neutral, setting up first, for Victory 5, we're going to be looking at whatever angle Uniboy is able to come from to find a guaranteed engage for the side of Victory 5.
And if you can catch out Scout, that's a huge one. If you can catch out Viper, it's slippery, but it can be done. Enchanted Crystal Arrow will be down. Pretty short cooldown, though, there from Kepler, but just trying to catch out Scout, as we said, one of the main pieces to EDG's win condition here. You've got a little bit of time, Lyric. I just want to say that V5 say no. They want to press up mid lane a little bit more, and I would be really scared at this moment because it seems like they're pressing up a little bit too far, and EDG can snap the snap jaw here as they are getting a lot of pressure with Flandre on the side.
Oh, and I think Flandre might be done for.
Oh, no. Hey, I don't know. Aliez has a lot of damage done to his health bar. PZX has to back off as well. Flandre looking pretty strong right now, Lyric. I don't know.
Yeah, that was nice coming out from him. I thought the collapse from PZX would come out in time for them to be able to find the burst, even if Aliez does get quite low. EDG now are forcing their way into Victory 5's jungle to get down vision. I like that Scout not really necessarily needing to answer the top wave right now. I think making it over to Dragon is more important when you are sitting on Soul Point. Victory 5 probably will look for the contest. And EDG just going through the correct steps right now. They pushed out bot wave, they're pushing in mid. They should be making their way into the pit quite soon. And for now, it's just about getting the accelerated shot glass and mystic shots down. And for me, for Victory 5, we're keeping our eyes on Lissandra.
Uniboy goes in. Speak of keep your eyes on him. He gets the engage, but is it enough? Scout cleans him up off of it. And EDG now at a man advantage in this fight. Dragon is spawned. They have advantages now, and it's huge at this moment for V5 to lose a key piece.
I mean, for Victory 5 now, they can't even contest. This will be an EDG Dragon. We see that Victory 5 understand what they need to do to be able to take the fight, but not able to actually get in there with anyone other than Uniboy. And this is one of our concerns with the Victory 5 composition coming out of draft, was that one of your squishiest members is the one who has to pretty much solo engage. Trundle, he's a support pick. He's not going to be that tanky in these fights. Sure, Aliez does have tools with, you know, his W and things along those lines, but still not the same. So for EDG, Braum just able to put up his shield. We did see Viper have to use his cleanse and flash to get away.
Yeah.
They're just going to be able to turn on him, as we are going to go straight into the replay. Viper eing forward seems like it was the catalyst for V5 wanting to make the play, flashing in with the W. Does have to ult himself because of how... Oh, actually does ult Viper, has to use the Zhonya's to keep himself alive, but we saw no one was able to walk past members like Viper or even Flandre on the side.
We got a Ragnarok Jiejie, but it's going to be V5 moving forward after it. ZYF taking a decent amount of damage there. V5 positioned around the Baron with a lot of pings going down. They just look at a bait a fight out of EDG right now as they do start it up.
Baiting a fight, trying to get out Flandre's TP. Does seem like they're going to go for a bit of both, but Uniboy, Uniboy, keep your eyes on him. He's making his way around.
He's been spotted out, though. There's a TP behind. V5 want to pull the trigger, but the health bars just can't handle it. EDG able to get a ton of poke, and Uniboy has to run away now with his claw, and V5 are headed for the hills. EDG are able to maybe find Uniboy here as well on the side. A lot of damage can come out from Scout, and there's the burst, there's the poke. No, Frozen Tomb, the outplay, no, the Scout all day long on this LeBlanc, and now EDG are looking for it. Flandre's behind everybody right now, waiting for the accelerated shock blast. There it is. He's going to get one. He's going to get two. You got three going down now. Make it a four. Make it an ace. The Titans are here, and EDG show up when it matters.
And great to see the adaptation coming out from them in the mid game. They took it slow when Victory 5 were trying to coin flip and bait them into the Baron. They got the poke down. They're able to find the kills. And they're going to translate this not only into a Baron, but they also have pressure in both mid and bot lane.
My goodness. This is all about taking your cake and eating it too, I guess, or whatever that saying is, because my goodness, you just get literally everything. You've got an inhib tower in bot lane, an inhib tower in mid lane, a second tier tower in mid lane. You had the Baron go down now. You still have priority in your lanes because of that Baron buff on all of your members, and now we're going to get a replay of that fight.
And we're going to see the initial chase down after all the poke had already come down. Scout looking for this, does land the ethereal chains, which is quite nice. Uniboy almost able to turn it around with the Frozen Tomb like you hit on, but still just not enough damage to be able to burst him out in one round of spells. And then I love that they keep going, realizing the health bars are so low, and that Flandre just does so much damage at this point in time. Accelerated shot blast, completely deleting two members, and then even flashing forward to get a bit of vengeance on Aliez from what happened in the early game.
Yeah, that's what it is. I like that call out lyric. Just a little bit of revenge there against this Gwyn, but we see EDG right back to it as we alluded to. They've got the Baron buff. They're looking for inhibs now. And Kepler already forced away from the fight. That's a lot of purple minions, Lyric. They're looking pretty nice.
And we're going to keep seeing Victory 5 go back to the win condition they know they need, right? They need Uniboy to come in, but I feel like EDG is too strong at this point.
BZX, you've been a mainstay in this game, and you just are no longer existing. Uniboy is trying to buy time for his team, but you got to expect that's the Frozen Tomb, but as well as a tomb for the Lissandra. As the Aliez comes out, Scout cleans up the kill. You've got Baron minions aplenty, and you've got an EDG that's surging. The last Nexus tower falls, and they made you think for a moment. They made you think that they potentially could fall to V5, but it was all a bait, and EDG take game number one.
EDG did find advantages early on in the game, but kind of threw it away when it came to mid-game. Nice to see them able to bounce back and take the win, but I would still say there are some unsettling signs for EDG. Wasn't the biggest fan of what Jiejie was looking for in terms of like his early game goals and his early game pathing. We saw him playing a lot more towards bottom side. It opened up windows for Victory 5 to look to punish Flandre. And then we saw just this weird like chain of events where Flandre's wave kept getting pushed into turret. It kept bouncing back, and EDG never resetting his wave as a team or looking to counter a gank or looking to get him back into the game. And then once it got to mid-game, even looking for picks on sides, just felt like EDG reading how they should be looking for the win completely wrong. Luckily, though, it seemed like cooler heads did prevail. They realized, hey guys, we just group up as 5. We know we're going to win the fight over the mid lane waves. We get on objectives first, and that's when we started to see the work, especially from Flandre's accelerated shock blasts.
Yeah, I want to know who had that calm head, who made that call. Guys, calm down. All right, we got to turn this around. But it was really interesting to me that we did see that, right? We set up this whole time, Jiejie coming in, back in rather, and being able to have a big piece to say of for EDG's win conditions. And with that falter in the mid, it made you question some things. But to slam it home like this, to see the skyrocket of that gold graph and end it on like a 10,000 gold differential, that's the EDG that we know and love.
And it shows that there's a good and bad takeaway from this, right?
Exactly.
It is bad that it wasn't just like a dominating win from start to finish and they didn't stick their win cons, but it is a good thing that EDG have shown that they can adapt in-game once mistakes have been made to be able to make the adjustments necessary to play towards their comp and towards their win conditions. The scary thing about that is when you are facing better teams, they're not necessarily going to give you that time, but it's maybe not always going to be as drastic of mistakes as we saw in this game, right? So I definitely think it's not the end of the world for EDG. You didn't even lose the game by any means. You're still in first place, but
you still got control.
With how your last week you're playing LNG and top esports, LNG and FPX, I'm sorry. We need to be seeing a bit more.